But the journey isn't about you trying to be, the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's about you trying to be the best version of yourself and feel good about yourself. And I believe the only way to do that is making sure movement is just a part of your life.
Phil, Lean Squad, what's up, man?
How's it going, Nick?
It's going well. All right, let's get right in. So give us the 20,000 foot. Who is Phil, and what can you tell us about yourself?
Oof, that's well, we'll try and go really high level here, I guess. Try and get it in before all the kids wake up from their nap. But we've got I'm a dad to four boys, 5 and under, and I used to be a professional rugby player, and then I retired. Like most athletes, give zero thought to what you're going to do afterwards, and so I kind of retired and was really figuring out what I wanted to do. Thought maybe I'd build a house. Realized after I did a little bit of construction, I had to lay like a silt fence, had to dig a few holes, that this wasn't for me. So I gave on that passion project almost instantly and decided to go into what I always loved when I was a professional athlete, was the training side of things. So I got into, I started training friends and family in my parents' garage when we were pregnant with our first son. And then that kind of spiraled into, working 12-hour days in the gym all day, every day. And then I knew I wanted to go and reach more people. So that's when I got onto social media to try and online fitness, health and fitness with meal plans and all that kind of stuff. And that has led me to where I am today with the Lean Squad and, trying to grow that. And thousands of people are following along and joining my programs and balancing family and all that kind of stuff at the same time.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I was curious, just life after professional sports is something I wanted to touch on, but you really have a lot there. Tell me a little bit about after professional sports. This is part of an identity typically, right? You're like, who are you? I'm a rugby player. And then that stops, which is a whole mental hurdle, and you have to overcome some of those and pivot. How did that look for you?
No, I mean, you nailed it on the head there. I think for me, there was times in my, the vast majority of my career, I was one of those people where and still am to this day to an extent, where it's like, I'm all in or I'm not in. And, rugby was like my whole being, my whole identity, my whole focus every single day. Like, we would travel all over the world for rugby. And, instead of going to see sites or whatever, I'd make sure I'm focusing on my recovery, laying in my hotel room. It was just like my whole being was rugby. And there were times in my career when you're trying to get your next contract and you're not sure what's going to happen and the fear of losing it. Like, I remember breaking down in tears when I wasn't sure if I was going to get another deal and all that kind of stuff, because it does mean so much to you. And I don't regret that attitude, but as I got a little older towards the end, just one day they started professional league in the States. So I moved from England. I was playing in the top tier there. That was my dream. And then got the opportunity to go in the first inaugural league in the States out of San Diego. And I don't know if it was the San Diego weather or sun, but every day I was waking up, I'm like, oh man, that was the first time in my life there's other things I wanted to do other than rugby. And so that was kind of writing on the wall for me, because again, I was in or I wasn't in. And I felt like I was starting to, not be 100% into the rugby career. So that's when I decided to call it a day. Unfortunately, though, I didn't have a fully baked plan as to what life after rugby was going to entail. So maybe I jumped the gun too early. But with that said, we bought a house and we tore it down. And I thought I was going to, get into construction, build a house, flip it, so to speak, and then and do that as a career. But I quickly realized it wasn't for me. And again, I can't be half in. So it was straight into fitness after that. And then that spiraled into where I am today.
So you were married at the time and then you left, and Brody's like, so what are you going to do?
Yeah, I know. There wasn't a lot of thinking or planning involved, because we had just gotten pregnant with our first. So it was probably like the worst time. You're doing all the bad things. You're moving, not just moving, you're moving countries. I've never built a house before, so it sounded like a very shoddy plan. And and she was like, what's going on? And we had to move back in with my parents. I mean, it was just after being not home. I hadn't been home since I was 18, so I was 30 at the time. So 12 years later, we're home. She's pregnant and we're about to have a newborn, and I don't really have any job plans. So it was definitely scary, but I think a little bit of fear is good. You know, I think like
Yeah.
if everything was always easy or guaranteed, I think, you know, it's not really rewarding. So you need a little bit of struggling. I don't regret that, but maybe a little better planning next time.
Yeah, it seems like you go all in when it comes to fear, right? You got 4 kids under 5 years old. Talk about scary.
Yeah, that's not for the faint of heart. I'll tell you that much. Sometimes I wake up scared, very scared how I'm going to survive, but we managed to get through it somehow.
That's awesome. I'm also a father of 4, but my age gap is much wider.
I don't think there's any easy route in parenting. You know, it's
No.
it doesn't matter. It's hard. Every age is different and crazy. But my mindset was like, we were debating the 4th, and I was like, I'd rather do it, you know, just get through all the craziness at once. I mean, you could speak to the different age gaps, obviously a lot better than me, but that was at least my mindset. Like, it's just, if it's gonna be crazy, go crazy all at once.
Yeah, for sure. Just get it over with.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you expect about parenting or marriage that you came to find was not accurate to your expectation?
Oh man, I think you know, parenting, I think parenting, it's like it's a hard one to describe, but I think it's a lot of people, you know, say it's hard, but I don't think you realize how hard it is. What also people don't say is like, again, I always think there's like beauty or something special about the hardships, like the craziness, you know, like we've gone through, like, I think we're on day 28. Each one of our boys has been sick, but 7 days later. So like we keep thinking we're missing it. So we've been, our house, someone has been sick for the last month.
Man.
And, you know, it's like exhausting, it's tiring, but there's going to come a time point where like, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, you feel proud of getting through those moments. And, you know, I think that's something I really had no idea about, is like how tough it is, but also if you can, what makes it so special is like kind of embracing those challenging moments. And then, you know, they give you that mindset that you can push through as you go further along your parenting journey, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I can't remember. I wish I can quote the person who I heard this from, but talking about rewards. And if you reward a good deed, whether it's for yourself or for a child, then that becomes the reward, as opposed to overcoming the hardship. Right. And you put the focus on overcoming the hardship. It's like, good, you should be proud. Like, good for you. You made it. Right. You did that, instead of like, cool, let's go get pizza or ice cream. And now the reward just got moved to the thing that they should actually be proud of. So that's a little bit of like parenting tip or hack that I've come to learn over the years.
Totally. Yeah. I think like, I've like, yeah, whenever it's a crazy day and people are like, how are you surviving? Like, I think it gives me, and it also transfers into my business. You know, I'm like, oh my God, like pretty much 99% of people probably couldn't have just survived what we had survived. And then I'm like, well, if I could survive this, you know, I can survive like being an entrepreneur and all of those challenges that come with it and maintaining my health. You know what I mean? So I think all of these challenges kind of trickle in, and if you embrace that mindset that you just touched on, it benefits all aspects of your life, not just like the parenting, or, you know, I think it really impacts everything.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And sticking with this line of challenges, one of the biggest challenges, especially with 4 kids under 5, is getting food on the table, let alone healthy food. Like, how do you manage your day or week or time? Like, how do you prioritize what's important?
I think yeah, I mean, you know, I don't have like, I'm very bad with scheduling. I think I'm off the cuff a lot, probably to my detriment maybe in some ways. And it's certainly, you know, something my wife would wish I would improve on as well. But I think even though I am off the cuff, like you talked about priorities, like I know my priorities no matter what. It's like, it is my fitness, because I think if you start with fitness and your food, so those two go really hand in hand for me. Like there's not one or the other. Like I don't want to just eat crap and work out, because it's going to negate the impacts of working out. I think they're two equal on the same platform. But I know if I get those two right, like 80% of the time, I'm going to be able to do everything in my life a million times better. I'm going to sleep better, no matter how deprived I am of sleep. My sleep that I do get is going to be much more better. And that's going to allow me to be better parent, better worker, you know, run my business, like all of these things. So at the top, no matter what, it is like focusing on food and fitness, and not to extremes. Like I obviously don't have hours to work out. It's just like, you know, that half an hour, no matter how tired I am, I'm going to focus on that. And then for food, I know I've got my go-to meals. That a healthy meal, I think a huge misconception is it takes way longer than a, you know, an unhealthy meal. And I argue I could make a very healthy meal in the time it takes you to get your McDonald's drive-through. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
not a lot of planning, but I have these kind of that mindset that they're at the top.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's so much to that. Getting good sleep, prioritizing health and nutrition and fitness, just from a mindset standpoint enables you to do so much more when it comes to managing the family and the home and all the other distractions in life. You start to remove some of that from your system or your routine, and it really just deteriorates day after day. So you posted recently that eating healthy never seemed so scary. It's towards the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And you did clips of all this nutrition advice going around, and you're just like, what the heck am I going to do? I'm curious, what's your philosophy on food and healthy eating? Like, how do you define healthy?
I think it's just like about balance. You know, I think if you wanted to find something wrong with almost anything out there, you know, I think in that one clip, the woman's talking about water being bad for you, you know, don't drink water. So I think like now we live in a day of such extremes that I think I try and avoid any extreme. And for me, like healthy eating, it just looks, I think first and foremost is not overeating. I think that's where so many people go wrong, you know, like, and bear in mind, I obviously have days where I binge eat and, you know, but again, it's like the 80-20 rule. You know, if I focus on each day, I like to fast, especially if I have binge eat, I try and like purge, but keeping my, you know, I don't count calories, but I know kind of where I should be because I've been doing it for so long, and making sure that I don't overeat would be the first one. And then balance, like I have carbs, but I don't have them all the time. I feel really good when I actually do eat like predominantly throughout the day, a low carb, high protein, high fat diet, but I'm not keto. So like almost every day I'm having carbs, but again, it's that balance. You know, I don't love having carbs in the first thing in the morning. I kind of wait until I've finished my workout. So that's my main philosophy. Again, it sounds like pretty loosey-goosey, but I feel like within that framework of being loosey-goosey, it gives me, you know, I never feel really restricted. I never resent what I'm doing. And again, I think that's so key, because if you start doing like the keto, for example, and one day you get out of ketosis because you've had, you know, a sip of alcohol or something, it's really hard to get back in a swing of things. Whereas mine, I've got more wiggle room. I feel like, you know, I had a few drinks on Tuesday night. We went to the Raptors game, and you know, I get straight back on track because, you know, that's how that leeway allows me to do that.
We're going to get to the whoopsies for sure.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm just curious. So do you, just thinking about overcoming some of the barriers, and people will get really fixated on have to count calories, have to track macros, have to do this, have to fit in this box. When you're coaching or when you're working with your clients, do they have as flexible of a schedule as you do? Or do you have a plan that's a little bit more dialed in for them?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think for anyone, generally speaking, when they are coming to seek help, like they do need more framework. Like I've, you know, been doing what I've been doing for so long that it's like ingrained in me. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to measure my food or anything. But when someone does come, I'll create a meal plan. It follows a lot of the same guidelines, but I will make sure they're not counting their calories, but I will put them into a calorie range that they can choose any of the meals from that, and they'll stay beneath their, you know, the kind of limit that I want them to stay within, so long as they continue to eat off the meal plan, that is. But again, 2 meals, generally speaking, will be low carb, high protein, high fat, and then 1 carb-based protein for every day, and then 2 snacks, and they can combine them. If you want to fast in the morning and have 1 really big meal, they've got the leeway to do that. But that there's definitely is a framework, because again, you know, if they've never done it, they want to start to understand. But I've had squatties who've been, you know, doing this for years now, and they, much like me, they've understand now. They don't have to weigh their food, they don't have to measure things out, because they just know what their body needs and what that makes them feel good.
I love it. There's so much when it comes to consistency that just removes the mental barriers, some of the shame that's associated with that, and I missed or didn't do this, or, you know, I binged again or something like that, which made me think about your whoopsies. And I love it, right? The 80-20 is really something that I'm probably more 70-30, but that flexibility so that you're not so hard on yourself, I think is the barrier to entry for a lot of people. So tell me, where did whoopsies come in? Like, how did that, I want the story. There has to be a story there.
I think that's a great question. I think it came from, like, I don't love the word cheat meal because I feel like it's like, you feel like you're literally cheating yourself, I guess,
Yeah.
and I guess that's where it came from. And I know, like, rugby, when we were, guys would throw that around a lot. And for me, I think Whoopsies was just like, it kind of just slides off the tongue and rolls off the back. Like, you're not worried about it. It sounds like way less, meaningful, a little bit fun, which I think it should be. Again, I think if your fitness journey isn't allowing you to get more out of life and enjoy things more, like, you're not on the right fitness plan. That's the way I look at it. Like, if I'm working out and I feel exhausted because I'm doing a 2-hour session, like, that's not really benefiting my life, my body. Following a super restrictive, keto, for example. I did the keto once. I've tried all the things back in the day because I think you have to try them before you knock them. And if I had a drink, I felt like, oh my God, I was about to die the next day because I'm out of ketosis, got the keto flu. So for me, it's like, you should be able, on whatever you're doing, to go out, have a drink, have that binge meal, whatever it is. I call it, like you said, the Whoopsies. Enjoy that. And then the next day you just get back on. You haven't become unhealthy. You haven't put on all that weight back on. You just pick up where you left off. You're not stressed. You're not anxious. And I think Whoopsie just kind of embodies the messaging that I really believe in a little bit better.
I love it, man. It's so good. I love the terms. I remember one of the first videos that I saw, you're like whooping and heaping and whoop, whoop,
Yeah.
Like, that was probably the first one. I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah, I know. This weird guy throwing food in the pan. But I mean, everything, like, I'm not a trained chef. And that was those original videos where I was literally throwing food in the pan. It's like anyone can make a healthy meal. And, I think, like, a huge barrier for people, I think you briefly touch on it, is like overcomplicating things and thinking that you have to be in a certain position that's not the case. Anyone can do fitness, anyone can work out, and you're never ever going to change if you don't just start. Like, everyone has to start somewhere. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. And so this is even fairly new. You said about 4 kids under 5. So this is about 5 years ago that you started this process. And now, so on your website, you made it your mission to help everyone, or anyone and everyone, get fit in a realistic, sustainable way. Get fit. Like, talk to me about get fit. Obviously, there's multiple components to that.
Yeah, I think, ultimately, I think, again, it's just to inspire people with movement, I think. And food is obviously, like I touched on earlier, such a big part, but anyone can transform the way they feel. And that is, I truly believe that. I have people who, I think the oldest person who signed up for one of our programs is 80, probably youngest, like 18. So, it's literally such a wide range of people. And I always say, like, in my videos, if you ever see, like, my workout videos, I say, whatever is hard for you is lean for you. And what I mean by that is, like, you're not, again, and I think a huge area people go wrong is they'll go on social media and they'll look at, like, any fitness influencer and think, oh my God, I can never be like that, so there's no point in starting. But the journey isn't about you trying to be, the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's about you trying to be the best version of yourself and feel good about yourself, whatever that is to you. And I believe the only way to do that is making sure movement is just a part of your life. You don't have to overdo it or anything like that. My granddad, huge source of inspiration for me. The boy's great granddad is 80 years old. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he is an absolute testament to how just incorporating movement through your entire life changes the end of your life. He's 80 and he moves better than 60-year-olds because he is willing to just do a little bit, 5 times a week, still at 80, and it pays off in dividends down the road. So my mission is just to, wherever you are in your life, start incorporating it now and keep it a part of your life. Like, it's not a crash course. It's meant to, I'm hoping I become a great granddad just like mine, and I can still pick up the kids, run with them, and do all the things I want to get out of this life.
That's awesome. Yeah, coming out October of this year, 2023, I'm going to be a grandpa, believe it or not. So yeah, just
wow. Hey, you're a young looking grandpa.
I feel great.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed to be able to say that. And
Oh,
yeah,
that's
like you
pretty
said, I
cool.
want to be a healthy great grandpa, Lord willing, one day and show up for my grandkids.
No, I think like a big problem today is people talk about like, how long they want to live. But if you live a long time and your quality of life is terrible, like it's not really worth it. Whereas you want to live a very valuable end of your life, and that's the most important thing. Like, what are you getting out of every single day as you age? So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, right on. Okay, a couple more questions for you. So getting out of rugby into business, I'm assuming you had very little business experience. How did you gain this business acumen, and what were some of the hurdles that you had to overcome at the very beginning?
Oh, well, we might need a long time for the hurdles. I think, yeah, I had no formal business experience. I had one job before I became a professional rugby player, and that was working in an ice cream cone factory, like literally packaging ice cream cones for McDonald's. Working like a 12 a.m. shift to 6 a.m. So it was just that was my only experience in the real workforce, I guess, so to speak. So when I came out, like all of the things that are typical, like business plans, forecasting, like that was out of the window. I would say the one thing I have that I believe is really, really powerful in being an entrepreneur is the willingness to just do it. I'm not going to say I'm not scared of failing, but the fear of failure doesn't hold me back. So if I have to do something, I figured out how to build my own website. I had no experience, obviously, building a website before, but I just figured that was something I had to do. I'm setting up the payment and all this stuff. Like, I think if you have the attitude, you can do it. It might take you a while. It might not be perfect, but I think for me, that was the most important thing. I just did all these things. And nowadays there's so many amazing tools that I really think there are very few hurdles to starting your own business now. I used 99 designs. I remember, I don't know what it costs now, but this was 6 years ago to do
back when it was $99.
Yeah. It's probably $10,000 now.
Yeah, exactly.
With inflation. But
Inflation.
yeah, I did. I got my logo there. That was my branding, and it was, like you said, I think it was $99 at the time. It was super cheap. Did my website on Squarespace, and my program wasn't perfect. Like if I sent you my original program to, what we have now, which is a full-blown app on the App Store, almost perfect rating, it's mind-blowing the difference. But that program at the time got me started, and I wouldn't change a thing, because I think you can always say, oh, it can be a little better. It can be a little better. And that's what holds people back from actually starting their business. But again, it's just getting it out there. And then once you get out there, you can start changing, you can iterate, you learn so fast, and you learn to adapt and iterate as you go forward.
Yeah, really the framework for life, right?
Totally.
If you let the fear stop you from starting anything, then you never have a baseline to grow from. You don't ask the right questions, you don't seek counsel, you're not trying and figuring things out, you're not showing up, right? I mean, and that's just the whole perpetuating cycle of, you're not even earning your own self-esteem, right? You're not building that self-esteem in yourself because you can't keep commitments. Totally. I talk about that a lot. So I think that's like one of the biggest things is people just afraid to fear or afraid to fail. You don't ask questions, you don't seek counsel, and you don't have anything to go from. You just make excuses.
I'm laughing when you said don't ask questions. My wife's like, you ask too many questions. That's also something I'm very good at. So maybe too good at it. I ask a lot of questions, but yeah, I think, there's so many knowledgeable people out there. And if you don't ask the questions, you're never going to know.
Yeah, 100%. All right, 2 more questions for you. First is showing up every day, right? You have a community, thousands of people follow you. You got to show up, and you have to be the inspiration for this massive community regularly. How do you show up for them every day?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'm just honest with everyone. And I talk about I filmed literally thousands of workout videos now. That I'm honest, that not every day is perfect. And again, another misconception, I think there's so many misconceptions with fitness and health and wellness, is being fit, being healthy doesn't make every day perfect, far from it. And I'm super honest about that. But what it does make is it makes the bad days a whole lot less bad. And, when I show up for a workout, there's days where I felt so bad, either mentally, physically, anxious, stressed, whatever it is. And I'll talk about it. But that movement probably so far off a PB, probably so far off anywhere near what I am capable of when I'm feeling really good, but it's still so much better than had I done nothing at all. So that's really my mindset. And that's what keeps me coming back. And again, you know, a lot of tough days, but I don't think life should be easy. And if it was easy, you know, these 4 kids, if it wasn't easy to raise 4 kids, you know, everyone would be doing it and no one would be feeling proud. It's the struggle that makes you feel proud when you get to that end journey. And so that really is kind of my mindset every day and what keeps me coming back and keeps me doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate the realness, right? It's literally about an hour ago you posted your wife had throw up all over her from one of the boys. And it's just like, you know, life happens and it is what it is. So you're not trying to be someone else. This is just you. It's real. And, you know, some days you feel like crap and you just don't want to do it, but at least you're sharing.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I mean, just like social media nowadays, it's so easy. I could cut like any of our videos into, you know, a perfect day and you wouldn't think we had a worry in the world. And I think so many people have done that for years. I think it's slowly starting to shift what people are showing, but that provides a false sense of reality for so many other people. And then they're comparing themselves to all these other influencers and whatnot and thinking, why is their life so good and my life is like, you know, I'm covered in puke right now while I'm looking at this. And so I think honesty is the best policy, and just trying to share that makes everyone feel better and also encourages them to keep coming back.
And I'm sure Brody must say, okay, don't post that one.
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah. I think at this point, she's just like, oh, that clip, she's like, I'm so over this day.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, man. So what's going on in your life? What's exciting to you right now?
Yeah, I'm loving where the twins age right now. They're crazy, but it's really fun. I'm trying to build out the app, continue to iterate there, and that's really exciting. And then I'm trying to get into, I can't give too much away, but just another challenge, another endeavor would be doing like a CPG, like a consumer product, something I've never done before. I have literally, I don't know if you could have minus experience, I would have minus experience because it's a completely different ball game. But much like, you know, when we built our app from the ground up, that was a new endeavor. And, you know, looking back on it now, 2 years out since it's probably been launched, nearly learned so much. And so I think I'm really excited about that challenge and taking it on head on and seeing how it goes.
Awesome. What's the best place for people to find you or find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah, I think probably same place as you. Social media, Instagram is at Lean Squad, and then TikTok as well. We've got a big community there. So, and that's at Lean Squad 1. And then, that's where you can find us at all times.
Nice. I'm a huge proponent of, similar to like diet, you know, in air quotes, right? I think that the social media feed could really use a recheck, and we could use the diet from social media feeds, but you are one of the people that I would continue to follow as I get rid of some of the negative influences that I follow.
Yeah, I know. I think, I think Instagram was the worst for it. Just this picture perfect. And now there's obviously, like you saw in that post I did, crazy messaging, but it's making sure it's like life. I think on social media, you want to surround yourself with people who are providing you positive messages and value, because what I think is that they say in life, the 5 people you surround yourself most are who you're going to be like. So trying to make sure you pick wisely and really pay attention to that is going to pay dividends, I think.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. All right, man. Well, thanks again for jumping on. Thanks for spending some time with us and sharing some of the hacks and wins from life and being a dad and businessman.
Thanks so much, Nick. Thanks for having me on.